Hi, it's Steve. Today we'd like to show you how to change the circulation pump on your dishwasher. This style of dishwasher uses a separate circulation pump which circulates water through the lower and upper or middle spray arms to get your dishes clean. It's a really easy job to change, so let me show you how we do it. Now, to change the pump on this dishwasher, we will need to remove the dishwasher from your cabinets. So the first thing we'll need to do is to disconnect power to the dishwasher. We'll also want to shut off the inlet water supply and disconnect that as well. Now, to access those, you'll need to remove the lower panel. Once we've done that, we'll need to detach the dishwasher from the bottom of your countertop from these two mounting straps. So once we've done that, then we'll pull the dishwasher out where we can access the pump. Now, although it's not necessary, we've turned this dishwasher completely upside down because it is a little bit easier to change this pump when you have full access to the bottom of it. Now, it's held in place with a friction fit into the larger portion of that sump area. As well, there is a connection down in below this motor that has a crimp type of clamp on it that needs to be pulled off as well. And then it just sits in a little groove on the bottom of that sump to hold it straight. So our first step will be to disconnect the wire harness. Just take a little flat blade screwdriver, reach in there and release that locking tab. Slide the harness out. And there's a clip on the side of the motor, just a little guide that holds that harness. So pull it out of that so we get it out of the way. Now, the clamp that holds that hose to the sump body is the crimp type clamp, and they're typically not reusable. And they're difficult to get in there to cut off, but if you took a large flat blade screwdriver, you can typically pry that clamp and the hose completely off of that sump area. If you find it difficult to get out, you can remove this motor by taking two screws out and releasing that clip. But there's a shaft that goes up and through to a diverter plate on the inside, and it would mean that you would need to remove both the bottom sprayer arm and that outlet port from the inside of the tub to realign that shaft. So if you don't have to take this off, I wouldn't bother. Just pry that clamp off until it releases. And the next one is a friction fit into this portion of the sump, as well as a little rubber mount on the very bottom that you won't be able to see from here, but once we pull it out, you'll be able to see that. So lift up on that pump motor assembly and just kind of pull it straight back. That releases the mount from the bottom and will expose that grommet on the sump area. Now we'll take a flat blade screwdriver and just gently pry that out without damaging the grommet. Then you can remove that whole assembly. Now, to remove the old grommet, we're simply going to just grasp both sides of it, carefully pull that off of the old pump, and we'll save that to reuse it. We can then discard the old pump assembly. We'll reinstall that grommet onto the new pump. You can just moisten that with a little bit of water to make it slide on easier. Then press it on until it bottoms out. And again, we can just moisten the outside edge of that, make sure that the connector on the side of the sump is nice and clean and there's no residue on it. Now, before we install that, you will note that there is a new clamp that comes with this assembly, and it is the cinch type or pinch type clamp that is used. If you don't have the proper tool to install that, you can simply remove that old clamp and use a screw type clamp in place of it. These can be purchased as a replacement part, or you can just use a typical gear type clamp from the local hardware store. You would install that first before you slide the pump into position. We do have the proper tool today, so we're going to use the clamp that came with the pump. Now we'll also want to moisten the inside of that hose. That'll allow it to slide on easier, and make sure that we line up that tab in the mounting bracket. Start that large grommet into the opening, press it in firmly all the way around, make sure it's nice and tight. And then fit that pump into that rubber mount at the bottom so it's flush. And then we simply need to line up that hose on the smaller opening. Make sure it's not folded over or pinched. And that small tab at the end should fit into that slot on the very top. And we'll rotate this clamp into position so that we can pinch it in place. Now, if you are using the pinch type tool, you will need to remove that diverter motor as well. So to remove the diverter motor, simply remove the two number 15 Torx screws. And then just depress the bottom of that little tab and lift the motor straight up and away. And that'll give us full access to that pinch clamp. Again, make sure that it's firmly pressed onto the sump body. So we'll simply slide that crimp tool over the clamp. Make sure the hose is firmly in place. Then we'll need to make sure that we line that shaft up with that diverter plate on the top. And if you're unsuccessful in doing so, we'll need to go to the inside of the dishwasher and access it from there. We were able to slide that properly into place. So we can just reinstall the retaining screws. And we'll reconnect that wire harness, hook it into the little restraint on the side of the body of that pump motor. Snap it in place, make sure that the locking tab engages. Now we're ready to tilt the dishwasher back up into position. Now that we've pushed the dishwasher back into place, we've re-secured it to the bottom of our countertop, turned on our power and our water supply, our repair is complete.